Have you ever had clients that were specifically looking for Asian American therapists? And if so, do you think your identity helps with the actual therapy? Alex asked a more pointed question too when it came to like just do we have Asian clients and do they come into the office? Do you have you had a good amount of Asian clients? I would assume you have a pretty big Asian population near where you live.
Yeah. At my my part-time job, I guess, I work with
Hmm.
basically exclusively Asian Americans and some immigrant Asians.
Hmm.
And I guess for the first question, I don't have any clients who have ever like specifically asked for an Asian American therapist. I don't necessarily choose some of my clients. The administrators kind of just like dish them out, and they tend to give me the Asian Americans, like the younger ones that have like family issues and whatever, and that's a lot of the population that I work with. And I think that for the second part of that question, my identity definitely helps with the actual therapy in the sense that like we talked about earlier, it helps with the actual therapy because it helps you to build a relationship faster, and it helps that
Hmm.
person to feel like they're connected to you on like a deeper level. There's just certain cultural things that people get, like that we understand each of each other as Asian Americans. So some of the examples would be like the pressure to do well in academics, right? I feel like the majority of kids that I've seen have that kind of issue. Like there's a pressure to perform, and you can definitely joke about things like Tiger Mom. There are a lot of shared experiences that you have that help you to create a connection with that person, and you don't have to give like personal details or whatever, right? It's just that experience is so shared that it just helps that relationship. And I think for the most part, like that just helps that person feel comfortable around you. Like you're human to them, and you're not just this therapist person who's like a doctor or whatever. That's kind of impersonal and kind of just giving you advice and whatever. It makes them feel like I'm talking to an actual person that has like an actual life, that has like their own issues and has experienced similar things that I've experienced. Racism is a big thing, right? Being discriminated against is a big thing. Feeling the pressure to be like a model minority is also a big thing. And those are all things that have come up in therapy with my Asian American clients.
Yeah.
And being able to share that experience with them has definitely made it easier for me to connect with them and to understand where they're coming from. But I think that as a therapist, you still have to take into consideration that you will have differences in your experiences, and you have to ask them to specify. You can't just assume that because we have this kind of shared experience that it's going to be exactly the same. You want that cultural competency piece that I feel like we've talked about before, where you're asking the client what that means to them, right? If I told you like, man, I really love like boba milk tea. Like boba is life, right? And then they're like, yeah, boba is life, right? But your favorite drink and their favorite drink might be something different, and you can ask them what that means to them, right? I can just assume that they're talking about like regular boba milk tea, but obviously they might not be. Why that makes a difference is because that assumption will damage the relationship if it's an incorrect assumption. And something as small as like your favorite drink is not going to impact it that much. But if you assume something bigger, like your dad was this way or your mom was that way, right? Based on limited information and like a shared experience thing, you might not be right, and that might be something that really like puts up their defenses, and you don't want that to happen. So you really need to ask those kind of specific questions, regardless of whether you share the same idea.
At my previous location, I would get Asian Americans that would specifically ask for me because I was Asian American, and a lot of the problems that I faced were very similar to the things that get posted in the group. That pressure to succeed, a lot of conflict trying to marry individualistic and collectivistic cultures, right? Those, especially in those high school slash college years, where they're trying to find their own identity and claim their own independence, while their parents are trying to pull them back into the family unit. That was definitely a super common one. And also trying to find their own dreams, right, as a part of their own identity, and having to be a doctor like every other Asian. right? Well, now my private practice is in the burbs, out in a very not diverse area of town, so I don't really see that many Asians anymore.